the most demos per game we've had here. So you see 20 demos here. And my goodness, did we have a shake-up. Big concerns for G2. It's the first time they've not made top 8 in a long time. YouTuber mode initiated. So this weekend of RLCS, we had North America, APAC, and Mena competing in their second regional. So we had the full cup in each of those regions. And this was a really important regional because it starts to secure lots of points to qualify for the major. It confirms the invitational teams, and it also starts to set up the storyline for the rest of the season, especially in the regions like Mena and APAC, where there are one spot teams fighting for one spot, and a lot of those teams were mixed up in Mena, but APAC continued to be dominated by James Cheese. But we'll get there. First place we want to start is North America, where we had one team confirm their spot for the major, and it's not the team you might have expected. It was, in fact, GenG. So if we scroll down all the way to the bottom, we'll see it will go in reverse. Version 1 won the whole thing, but GenG, by making the final, confirmed their spot for the major. And you'll be thinking, where's FaZe, where's G2? FaZe got knocked out in the quarterfinals by GenG, finally overcoming that. And as you can see, all the quarterfinals went to Game 7. Amazing series there, but no G2 in the quarterfinals. Unexpected result for them as they went to the 5th round of the Swiss, losing to Furia SSG in close series, and then dominated by GenG in that final round. I say dominated. It was convincing win by GenG, but it wasn't a huge domination. It wasn't like crazy, but I would say GenG looked much better than G2. So big concerns for G2. It's the first time they've not made top 8 in a long time. So we're going to be worried for them going into the final regional as to whether they can make the major. And if we look here how the points panned out, as you can see, the points these days are very top heavy. For those of you who haven't got used to the new RLCS points, 16 for first, 12 for second, then you start getting 9, 6, 4, 3, 2. So it's massively weighted towards the teams that make the finals and the teams that win. So that's why GenG have qualified, because they've got those 2 finals. And if we actually look at the points, I think it's here, right? So you can see the total points now for GenG is 36. Oh, that's because they've got the major. So they've actually got 24 guaranteed, with that 2 guaranteed from the Invitational. So they're on 26 here, where FaZe 16 and 6 here aren't guaranteed for the major yet, and so therefore haven't got all these accumulated points in the future. So if we just actually look at the full ranking, this will give it a little bit clearer. So you can see GenG guaranteed that major spot, where FaZe and version 1 in good positions to get it. Space Station in a strong, solid position because they've made 2 semi-finals. But really the question is going to be around this final spot. G2, NRG, Furia, Optic, Complexity, Shopify Rebellion all win the fight for it, and it obviously depends on other teams' results. G2 and NRG in the best spot to do so. So this is a massively competitive 5th spot, 4th spot. Space Station should be able to clinch it if they just have a reasonable result next event. If they make that top 8, I assume they'll probably be in a good spot for it. FaZe and version 1 just need to make top 8, and that'll probably confirm it as well. But yeah, very interesting final event for North America. And what it also does, it confirms which teams make the Invitational. So now the Invitational is based off of points. So you need the top 16 teams in your region to qualify for the Invitational. So the teams like Knights, who weren't actually involved in the last regional, because they got the 4 points in the first one, that was enough to get them into the regional. And there's going to be a tiebreaker for that 16th spot between 26 Rising, Flashes of Brilliance, and Soul, where Ghost Gaming and Luminosity, only making one event and coming last, put them out of contention for the Invitational. So this is really bad for these 2 orgs to not be making it. And we haven't even got Darkfire on here, who haven't made a regional yet. So that's North America. Some interesting things also happened in North America. So if we look on here, I believe this is the most demos per game we've had here. So you see 20 demos here from Com. So you can see here in the semi-final match against NRG in the RLCS NA Full Cup, Com of version 1 set the North American player record for demolitions, clocking in at 20 demolitions in game 3. I don't know if you guys remember, but Aleutian played a whole game when he was on FaZe where he attempted to just demo the whole time. And Com got 600 plus points in this game, I think, and still got all of those demos. So where do we see the core stats? Score. Yeah, still got 658 scores. We still get involved in the play, and yet was able to get those 20 demos. So yeah, massive result there for the stats board. And there was also another interesting stat, which was the grand final series is the longest ever best of 7 in an RLCS grand final, clocking in at 48 minutes and 25 seconds. And if we find the games here, you'll look at the overtimes. You can see 2 minutes 7, 1 minute 35, 3 minutes 36, 5 minutes 1, 1 minute 6. So a lot of overtimes and went to game 7. So a massive amount of time added on, which made it one of the most exciting series I've ever seen in Rocket League history. So that was the North American Full Cup, an amazing event. Version 1, congratulations, coming out on top. Beast Mode looked like one of the best players in the world, which seems to be the case in all of the regionals so far, as these individual players stand out. Beast Mode here, first killer last event. So that's North America. Then we look at Middle East and North Africa, so the MENA region. So if those of you who remember last time, actually, let me just open that up and show you. Full open, it went all the way to the final and KRN took down Team Falcons. So Falcons, who went 9-9 last season, not losing a single regional, have now got competition with KRN. But KRN, this event, got knocked out in the semi-finals against Twisted Minds. They were beaten 4-1 here. So that left it open for Team Falcons to go through on the opposite side, take on Twisted Minds in the final and beat them here. So Falcons back to their winning ways. So Falcons now made a final and a win. KRN have got a win and a semi-final finish. But what that interestingly means is points-wise, because of the fact you get 16 for winning, where you only get 12 and 9 for these two positions, it actually means that Falcons and KRN are only 3 points apart. So whoever wins, if they both make the final again, whoever wins that final is going to be the team that makes that one major spot that Mena are competing for. I think out of the rest of the teams, I don't think there's anyone who's going to be able to touch them. I don't even know if it's mathematically possible, but then obviously in this region, you expect these guys to make top 4 every time. It is going to be down to who wins that final event if they both make the final. If they don't make the finals and they get both knocked out in the semi-finals, obviously by default Falcons win, but I assume it's going to be down to who gets that one extra point for winning, because that's the tiebreaker effect there. So full invitational, all to play for in Mena. And then when we look over to APAC, dominated again by that same team, James Cheese. So we scroll down here, look towards the end. James Cheese, absolute domination in the final. Pretty dominant in the semis against Detonator, who they faced in the final last event. And you can see they tending to not drop many games at all. You can see in the Swiss, only dropping to Detonator. So James Cheese continue their dominating streak, winning this whole event. Virtuoso, Realize and Cami coming out on top. But I think Realize actually got the best stats of the team this event, which is pretty good for them, because it shows that it is still an APAC team where people are complaining, saying, oh, they're not APAC players there, and so on and so on. But another big shout out, though, for OSM, who's actually in the chat right now. You might be able to see him over on the left there, who managed to make his first final in RLCS, I believe, on Gaming Gladiators, and I'm sure they're excited to keep developing and improving. So there we go, Gaming Gladiators making the final. So in terms of points for APAC, that does mean now James Cheese 16-16 by far at the top, and I think that's pretty much going to confirm their full major spot. It's going to take a lot for any other team to take it from them, but Detonators and Gaming Gladiators now same amount of points in second place. So that's all of the regionals that happened, but we did have some qualifiers. As always, the European qualifier was going on at the same time as the North American event, and my goodness, did we have a shake-up. Actually, I'm going to start and look at the open qualifiers, because this is how deep Europe runs. Open qualifiers have some teams getting knocked out early stages. So when we look here, SK Gaming, BS Plus Competition, and Old Farts, all competing for this one spot. Now, obviously, these guys have dropped down earlier on, might even be before this stage here. But the fact that they're dropping down, SK Gaming, Scrub Killers team, Rye was in a regional making team last season, BS Plus Competition, Bluey, these are players of the past who've done exceptional results. Speed, Tigre Yukio, regular regionals players in the past, all competing for those same spots. So lots of new talent coming in and taking the spots of these older pros who've not quite got the same level they used to have. So if we scroll down here and we look at this closed qualifier, Evil Geniuses, strong performance from them, qualify through. Algeria, the strongest unsigned team right now in RLCS. Obviously, you could look at James Cheese and APAC, and they're winning out there. But in terms of Europe and North America, Monkeys and Algeria, both amazing opportunities for orgs to come in and sign. I think especially Algeria, personally, because I think Stizzy has a bright future ahead of him. A young player, one of the strongest looking players who's not signed right now. Monkeys, they're following a similar pattern to Misfits last season of being there or thereabouts, with Smokes taking the place of Cash. But what we saw in this event is lots of teams not making it that we expect to make regionals. So Williams Resolve, they at the start of the season were in contention for that top 8 because they had such strong performances. But yet they couldn't quite make it through. And that started off with a loss, I believe, to Ones. There's so many. Look at all these teams that just don't have logos. That's how deep Europe is. All these new teams coming through. So this Ones team is, it's got some Ones players in it. So they beat out Williams Resolve, and that's where they started to struggle, because once you take that loss, it starts to get a lot tougher in Europe because teams drop down who are very good. Lost to Solary, lost to Heat. Not good enough for Williams Resolve. They need to be making these regionals, otherwise that's not good enough for them. Guild Esports, again, going to the 5th game, losing out to Vitality at the end. Vitality squeaking just in, because they should be making regionals a lot more comfortably than that. But at least they made the regional, which they struggled to do last time. So, started strong. Evil Geniuses, that's a fair result. Team Go, people probably haven't heard of Team Go. Recently signed French team, I believe. Where are they? Here they are. UKIS, Whiskey Drinking, Econ. So many names here that a lot of people just won't be familiar with. I mean, I've known of these guys for a little while. They had potential. They've been on the bubble for a while. Honestly, the depth here is unreal. Got another French team on the bubble, Heat, who made it through. And these guys are taking the spots of teams like Sonics, Guild, Williams Resolve. I guess you could say Endpoint as well. I think Endpoint have been overperforming a little bit to start the season off, but they've still got a lot of potential. I mean, yeah, it's just crazy out here. Like Tho, Mike Boy, and Metza didn't make a regional. How crazy is that? So this is one of the craziest weekends of Rocket League we've ever had when it comes to the North American regional, with G2 not making the top 8, GenG qualifying for the major. The first North American team to qualify for the major has 2 European players in it, and Chronic, who was criminally underrated in North America. And then we looked at what happened in Mena, KRN not even making the final. What a surprise. And then Europe, this closed qualifier has been crazy. So the rest of this full split is going to be one to watch, and I'm excited to see how it pans out. Next weekend, we get to see these 8 teams join the top 8 of Europe and compete for that full invitational spot, and also for that major spot if any of these guys can get an overperformance this event and take those spots. There we go.